Hi everybody, welcome. If you're new here, welcome again. I usually don't record like this, but today I am because I can connect to God from anywhere. I actually got my Bible right here with me. I generally try to take it wherever I'm going to. I'm actually about to go exercising where I am. There's snow and there's rain, but it's okay. I'm gonna not let my circumstances determine my own health right now. So I am gonna go exercising. But I wanted to just come in to drop by because maybe somebody needs some encouragement. And I was, thinking about some things lately, and, sometimes you have to encourage yourself. And, this week I've been talking about the spirit of faithfulness. If you haven't watched the videos already, be sure to check it out. It is on YouTube. You can just go to YouTube and search Alicia Mitchell. I will also, perhaps maybe I'll repost or repost some link at some point in time today. So in case you haven't watched it, you'll get the chance to watch it. But I talked about spirit of faithfulness, and I talked about Moses and the children of Israelites. Before, and to today, to kind of end off this week about the spirit of faithfulness, I actually want to talk about somebody else. I want to include somebody in that spirit of faithfulness, which is David and Goliath. I'm pretty sure many of us have heard the story about how David defeated Goliath, this big giant who's 9 foot tall, and David was this handsome fella, but he was almost boyish. His physique, I mean, it wasn't like he came with this this strong physique kind of man. He was kind of boyish, but a handsome guy. But he defeated Goliath. But what some of us may not know is the backstory to David. Even though David, we know David won the battle, but how did he get to that point? You see, before David eventually became king. So before David was king, there was somebody named Samuel. Think of Samuel as like a counselor or a priest. Samuel is the one to anoint people into their position. Like he anointed the king at that time, which is Saul. Saul was the king at that time. He anointed Saul to be king at some point in time. But at some point in time, Saul, in his position to be king, it ran out. He ran out. So we need a new king. But at the time, Saul was still king at the time that David was to go against Goliath. And the Lord chose David for a specific reason. You see, before David was chosen to actually go against this Goliath, Saul was still king at the time. Legally, he was still king at the time. But God spoke to Samuel to tell him who he would choose to defeat against Goliath. And it's amazing how he became the one chosen, because initially initially he was rejected. Really, initially he was seen as somebody who, why would you even choose him? Why would you even pick him? Why would you even go forward and pick somebody like David? David is a shepherd boy, kind of minimizing his job. Have you ever been in a position where somebody's seeing what you do as trivial? They're seeing what you're doing as minimal. Like maybe you're a janitor, and they say, well, you just clean up. That's all you do. Just get to cleaning. That's all you do. Or maybe you're an assistant to somebody. You just assist. Just stick to assistant. That's all you do. So just stick to doing that, because that's all you're worth. They kind of demean your value. So people were looking at David the same way. Even his own family looked at him the same way, because David had he had brothers that were older than him, right? David's father was Jesse. Okay, so when Samuel and Jesse had this conversation, Jesse brought out his like older sons who are well built, who were strong, who he thought would be fit to fight against Goliath. But Samuel said, nah, it's not any of these sons. It's not them. You have another son. Where's your other son at? And Jesse's like, he's tending to the flock. You know what I'm saying? That's what he does. He's a shepherd boy. So when David comes out, David says, the Lord tells not Saul. The Lord tells Samuel. This is the one. This is the chosen one. This is the chosen one. And remember, David is this boyish looking kind of guy. He's a handsome guy, but he's kind of boyish looking guy. He's not like where his brothers are. But his brothers were in a position of, them, they're very strong. Outwardly, you would say, oh, that's the person that needs to go against Goliath to win this battle. Because that happens to us in life. The world will say that you're unqualified. The world will say to you, you're not good enough. The world will say to you that you're not ready yet, okay? But don't listen to the world. You cannot be connected to the world so much, because when you're connected to the world, listen, the world is not going to have your back like God is. God is faithful, and he's faithful in his promises. You got to stay connected to him, because God's got you. You may not be qualified in the world's eye, but again, like I've said before in the other video, God qualifies the calling, okay? So he called David to this position. And what did David use? David didn't use some type of sword or some type of armor to fight against Goliath. He could have, but he didn't. David only used 5 smooth stones that he found in a stream. He used 5 stones, and he had a sling, okay, so he can carry these stones. And see, David was swift. He had already some of the skills that God had given to him. We already have our gifts that God has given to us. We just need to use them and trust God. Be faithful to him. You got to stay connected to him so that you can do what God has called you to do. Just like David. David had 5 stones. But what he also had that Goliath didn't have, he had God on his side. That's who he had. He had God on his side. God was standing right there with him. He was inside of him. In John chapter 15, verses 5, it says, Jesus says, if you remain in me and I in you, you will bear much fruit. Your prayers will be answered. You remain in me and I in you, your prayers will be answered. Apart from Jesus, like that verse says, apart from him, you can't do nothing, okay? You can't do nothing. If you look in 1 John, in chapter 4, verses 4, it talks about greater is he that is inside of me than the one who is inside the world. Greater is God who is inside of me than the one, this evil spirit who is inside the world. Come on. You believe in God. You have faith in God. You got to walk fearlessly just like David did. David walked fearlessly because he had God inside of him. And some of us, we got to tap into the God that's inside of us. God is right there. But sometimes, I know, like me, sometimes I start to doubt. Like, because I start looking at my circumstances like, nah, I'm not supposed to be here. I'm not supposed to do this. But when you look at your circumstances, when you look to see what's in front of you, you are going to feel defeated. You're not going to want to continue. You're not going to want to go for what God is calling you for, because you start to feel doubtful about things. And that's how the devil operates. He wants you to doubt. He wants you to say, this ain't for you. Don't do this. You're not good enough. Don't try it. What we do and what we say, how we think, sometimes we think like the world. But you can't think like the world. You cannot think like the world, because when you think like the world, it'll get you in trouble. You got to have the perspective of God. Don't have this perspective of the world, because when you have the perspective of the world, you're just going to be in a cycle. You're going to be in a cycle. I've been in a cycle before. You know, I've been in the cycle before. I kept doing the same thing over and over again, and I kept getting the same results. But when you stay connected to the Lord, you get a different result. So just like David believed in God. He walked fearlessly. He knew that God is inside of him, and he defeated Goliath. Some of you have Goliaths in your life right now. The Goliath of fear, the Goliath of anxiety. Whatever your Goliath is, it is not too hard for God. That's why it's so important to stay connected to him. Stay connected to God, not the world. Don't measure yourself by the world standards. Don't measure yourself by the world standards. It's really easy to do that. Do not use the world as a place of measurement. Don't do that, because the world will tell you that you should have went to college, that you should have got married, that you should have kids right now, that you should have done this, how you look. Don't listen. Don't listen to that. Don't listen to that, because when you receive that message, you almost like abuse yourself, really psychologically. You start to abuse yourself like you're not good enough. Don't look at that type of stuff. So I'm here to encourage you, whoever's listening, stay connected to God, walk fearlessly, know that God is inside of you, and you got a David inside of you too. You know, you can do this. Whatever you want to accomplish, whatever goal God has called you to step forward into, step into your gift. Step into it, because nobody else is going to do it. You step into your gift. But remember, guys, at the end of the day, to stay connected to the vine. You guys have a blessed day.